Like what you see here? Then be sure to subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8, a channel devoted to the history of college football. New videos drop twice a week. Click the card in the upper right corner or the link in the description to subscribe now. And now, on with our feature presentation. On February 20th, 1992, baseball history and television history would change forever when Fox aired an all-new episode of The Simpsons titled Homer at the Bat. The episode, which drew rave reviews and is widely regarded as one of the best in the history of the storied series, featured Mr. Burns hiring a bunch of Major League Baseball players in order for the Springfield Nuclear Power Plant softball team to win the championship. And of the many, and I truly mean the many iconic moments from this episode, from Don Mattingly's sideburns to Wade Boggs at Moe's, perhaps the best was when during the game, Mr. Burns, who was managing the team, decided to bench Darryl Strawberry, despite the fact that Strawberry was absolutely dominant. He took out Strawberry and pinch hit him for Homer Simpson. Take a look.
Good effort today. Take a lap and hit the showers. I'm putting in a right-handed batter to hit for you.
What? You're pitch hitting for me?
Yes. You see, you're a left-hander, and so is the pitcher. If I send up a right-handed batter, it's called playing the percentages. It's what smart managers do to win ball games.
But I've got 9 home runs today.
You should be very proud of yourself.
Now you might be thinking to yourself with that scene that no manager in real life would be dumb enough or crazy enough to do such a thing, right? Sure, there's playing the percentages, but good players are good players. And even if the matchup isn't the most favorable on paper, I'd rather have a left-handed batter who can hit the ball than a right-handed batter who can't. I'm a right-handed batter myself. But if you're managing the team at the plate, there's a left-handed pitcher on the mound, and your options are me and Juan Soto, screw playing the percentages. You're putting Soto up there over me, and you're not thinking twice about it. So why do I bring all this up? Because during a 1998 game between the Kansas City Royals and the Seattle Mariners, the man that you've been watching this whole time, Royals manager Tony Muser, decided to do something that raised a ton of eyebrows. He played the percentages by refusing to use his best player in a game against the game's best pitcher. He basically pulled a Mr. Burns, and left a ton of people shocked and confused at first. As for the end result, well, you might be surprised at how this one turned out when all was said and done. Because I promise you, it's not what you expect. Not at all. Because this is the story behind Royals manager Tony Muser, and what might just be the most bizarre lineup strategy in the over half-century-long history of the Kansas City Royals franchise. Before I talk about the actual incident in question, we need some context to understand the importance of this game, as well as not just the player on the Royals in question, but the player on the Mariners in question as well. It's April 20th, 1998, and we've got a game on our hands in the Pacific Northwest over at the Kingdome in Seattle, between the Kansas City Royals and the Seattle Mariners. It's the first game of this 3-game series between the teams, and it's a pretty big series for both of these teams, who each sit at 8-10 and sit 3 games back of their respective division leaders in the Cleveland Indians in the AL Central and Texas Rangers in the AL West. Obviously, you want to start this series off on the right foot, and if you lose this series and potentially risk dropping to 6 games back of the division lead just 3 weeks into the young season, you put yourself in a very dangerous spot, and in a hard hole to get out of. And one of the reasons that the Royals were struggling early on was because of a poor offense that managed just 78 runs through the first 18 games, coming out to just 4.3 runs per game and ranking 19th out of 30 teams. However, while the Royals were having some struggles getting the bats warmed up to open up the season, the same could not be said about this player right here, because this man is Hal Morris. And to start off the 1998 season, as crazy as it might seem to believe, there were few hitters in baseball more feared than he was. After spending the past 8 seasons with the Cincinnati Reds, where he hit .307 and helped the team win the 1990 World Series, he found himself on the Kansas City Royals in 1998 after becoming a free agent. Now, Morris was always a great hitter. You don't hit 300 over the course of 8 seasons by accident. You don't go on a 32-game hitting streak by accident. And you don't have 2 seasons where you rank inside the top 5 of the National League in batting average by accident. But to start off the 1998 season, Hal Morris was on a completely different level and was playing the best baseball of his career, to the point where his numbers resemble something out of a video game. On April 9th, the Kansas City Royals took on the Baltimore Orioles. On April 19th, they took on the Oakland A's. In that stretch, the Royals played 11 games, during which Morris got 43 at-bats and 48 plate appearances. Over the course of those 11 games, Morris hit an astonishing .605. For some perspective on how insane that is, if Morris were to go 3 for 5 in his next game, his average in that stretch would actually decrease. That's 26 hits in 43 at-bats, plus a sacrifice fly and 4 walks. It's an on-base percentage of 62.5%. It's an OPS of 1.439, which is almost comical. And the crazy part is that the only reason his average over the course of those 11 games was .605 is because he struggled, and I use that in air quotes, in his final 2 games of that stretch. Because over the first 9 games of that stretch, he was hitting .649. Morris was looking like an insanely good free agency pickup for the Royals, and was not only leading the American League in batting average, with his average of .449 on the season, but was also riding high on a 12-game hitting streak, entering the opening game of the series against the Seattle Mariners. On top of that, he was the reigning AL Player of the Week, and it's not too hard to see why he won that award. When there's a starter who's hitting .600 over the course of a week or so, yeah, you kinda can't give that award to anyone else. And Morris faced some good pitchers in that stretch, including the likes of former All-Star pitcher Kenny Rogers and former All-Star and AL leader in ERA Juan Guzman. But on April 21st, he was about to face what seemed like his toughest challenge yet, because coming to the hill for the Mariners was none other than the big unit himself, Randy Johnson. I mean, do I even need to say anything else? It's Randy freaking Johnson, arguably the greatest pitcher in the history of baseball. This was a 5-time All-Star at the time of the Seattle Mariners, the man who, over the past 3 seasons, was 43-6 with a 2.54 ERA and 670 strikeouts in 488 innings of work. This is a man who won the Cy Young in 1995, and in 4 of the last 5 seasons, finished inside the top 5 of the Cy Young voting. This was a man who was second in 1997, the previous year, in strikeouts, and led the AL in strikeouts in 4 consecutive seasons from 1992 to 95. Facing the big unit was a death sentence. Heck, if you were a bird, it literally was a death sentence. And this was a guy that 10 days before this game against the Royals played the Boston Red Sox and struck out 15 batters in 8 innings of work while allowing 2 hits. It was going to take something special to get past Randy Johnson. So you had the best hitter in baseball in batting average going up against the best pitcher in baseball in just about every metric. Which raises the question, how would manager Tony Muser work his lineup card going up against the most dominant left-handed pitcher in baseball? How would the left-handed hitter Hal Morris fit into this lineup? Well, and here's the crazy part, he wouldn't. Because in a move that might seem absolutely ridiculous on the surface, Muser decided to pull a Mr. Burns and play the percentages, and decided that the number 3 hitter in the lineup all season, and the man hitting .600 over the past 2 weeks, and the reigning AL Player of the Week, would not be in the lineup against Randy Johnson, because he was a lefty. As Muser said on why he didn't insert Morris into the lineup, I don't think it's necessary. Randy Johnson is pretty nasty for any left-handed hitter. Word has it that prior to the decision, Morris told Muser that he was hitting .600, and Muser said, "You should be very proud of yourself," before replacing him in the lineup. To be fair to Muser, at least he was consistent, as all 9 hitters in the starting lineup were right-handed or switch hitters. So it's not like he benched Morris while still leaving a left-handed hitter in there. But the point still stands. I don't care that you're the best hitter on the team. I don't care that you're the hottest hitter in baseball. I don't care that over the last 2 weeks, you've gotten on base more than 3 out of every 5 times. I don't care that you pretty much single-handedly saved our offense in that stretch. You're a left-handed batter? Yeah, you're not playing in this one. We're playing the percentages. even if your batting percentages might suggest otherwise. On the surface, this seems crazy. You're going to pull the best hitter in baseball just because it would set up a lefty-on-lefty matchup? On paper, that's like if Aaron Boone, after Aaron Judge hit 2 home runs, got pinch hit for with the Yankees down by 1 in the 9th inning, just because Judge going up to bat sets up a favorable matchup with the pitcher. There's no way this can possibly work, right? There's no possible way that Tony Muser's decision to get cute and pull the most consistent and reliable guy getting on base in the sport right now actually succeeds against the best pitcher in baseball. There's just no way that can happen, right?
He had an RBI single his first at bat, and he is going to put this one in the seats, I believe. Yes, indeed. He might have been a candidate, but not this time.
Holy crap, it actually worked. Turns out, to the shock of just about everyone, Tony Muser's lineup card sans Hal Morris stunned Randy Johnson and company, because Johnson had his worst outing of the season, and quite possibly his worst outing ever. In something that just feels bizarre to say because of how good he usually is, Johnson's performance on the mound this day was ugly with a capital U. He only went 3 1/3 innings before getting yanked, and in that stretch, allowed 8 hits with 6 earned runs. Bill James created a metric called the game score, which says how good a pitcher performed. It's basically the football equivalent of passer rating, but for starting pitchers. And Randy Johnson's game score on this day was just 20, which of the 34 outings that Johnson had in 1998 was his worst one. In fact, prior to this game against the Royals, the last time Randy Johnson had an outing that poor was on May 6, 1994, when he allowed 7 earned runs in 3 2/3 against the Detroit Tigers. It had been over 4 years since a team rocked Randy Johnson that badly, and the Royals controversially did it without their best player in the lineup. For what it's worth, the Royals ended up losing this game 8-7, and Morris got inserted into the game in the 7th inning after Johnson was out, although he did go 0 for 2, ending his 12-game hitting streak on a rather anticlimactic note. Going into the game against the best pitcher in baseball without your best player playing in order to give yourself a better chance of winning seems like a crazy idea. A really crazy idea. And to be fair, I think a lot of people were calling Tony Muser crazy beforehand. But sometimes, absolutely crazy ideas are the best ideas. This is one of those moves that's absolutely stupid if it fails, and absolutely genius if it works. And based on how well the Royals rock Randy Johnson on this day, I think we know which one this falls under. Because sometimes, the best way to manage the game is to be like Mr. Burns and to play the percentages, even if it might make you seem really stupid at first. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.